Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today we are continuing the series of It's Armageddon, where I talk about a decade of Doctor Who. And if you had to give up half of the stories from a season to the aliens, which half would you give up and why? We're on 80's Doctor Who today, so what, about 9 seasons to get through here, and if you had to give up half of the episodes because the aliens show up and they demand that they take half of our Doctor Who episodes from each season of 80's Doctor Who, which half would you be willing to give up? Which half would you definitely not be willing to give up? They just have to destroy the world. Now, in this one, we're going to do like we did in the 60s, where for the odd-numbered seasons, the aliens are going to be nice and let us keep the odd number out. Like if it's a 7-story season, they're going to take 3, and we're going to be allowed to keep 4. So they are going to take the lesser of the half for those odd-numbered seasons, I think. I think that's how we're going to do it this time. Season 18, I would definitely give up the Leisure Hive. Of course, we do have to keep in mind that Tom Baker's final season is an 80s season, and the Leisure Hive is really the only bad story I would call. And to be fair to the Leisure Hive, it's perfectly watchable. It is. It's maybe perfectly is not the right word, but it's watchable. It is watchable. There's only one Tom story that I call borderline unwatchable. Most of you know that's Power of Prowl. I know Cody thinks it's awesome. I have to disagree. I don't know how people like Kroll. I just don't. Kroll. And I'm over there going, no. But yeah, the Leisure Hive, while being watchable, I don't think it's really that good. It's not one I go back to a lot, unless I'm just watching all of season 18. I have to really be in a mood for it to want to rewatch it. So it's definitely the first one to go. The next one to go would be Full Circle. Full Circle's an interesting one because I never come away from it feeling exactly the same. Like, sometimes I'll get done watching Full Circle and I'll be like, it was okay. Sometimes I'll walk away from it going, that was pretty good. I mean, I'm never blown away by it. It does a few things in it I like, but it does a few things in it I don't like as well, like Romana being controlled by the bugs. I never like when the companion's controlled. It just feels tropey at this point, especially considering she's a Time Lord, so that really shouldn't happen in my opinion. But it's fine. That's typically my overall thoughts of Full Circle. It's one of those, I'm a little kinder towards it when I'm fresh off a rewatch. When I haven't watched it in a while, it's just kind of to me. And then the other one, as much as I hate to say it, would be Meglos, because I like Meglos. I find Meglos very underrated. It's too short. Meglos is one of those rare occasions where I'm like, 4 parts isn't enough. I needed at least 1 more part, because the ending kind of just happens quickly. I'm like, oh, that's it? It's over? Like, the ending just happens. It's so fast. And it's not that the story is paced badly. I find the story to be paced very well up to that point. I just feel like it needed a 5th episode. I'm probably the only person on the planet that argues Meglos needs to be longer. But I enjoy Meglos, and it's great seeing Tom in dual roles, and it's probably the only time when the actor playing the Doctor has also played an antagonist in the story where it's actually made sense in the plot. I never like when the actor is also playing someone else just because we have a case of mistaken identity and it's never explained. Like in The Massacre, when the Abbot looks like the Doctor, or in The Enemy of the World, when Salamander just happens to look like the Doctor. In Black Orchid, when the other woman looks just like Nyssa. You know, I don't like it when it's just a coincidence. I don't care for that. I don't care for that. I actually do think there's expanded media that makes it to where the Abbot was actually the robot from The Chase, which I also think is a stupid idea, but at least they tried. Whereas in this one, it's a plot point why Meglos looks like the Doctor. He is impersonating the Doctor. That's why he adopts that disguise. I like that. I like the fact that plan is there, that there's an explanation for that. And plus, I just enjoy seeing Tom playing the dual roles, and I can't believe they talked Tom into wearing the makeup, the little cactus makeup. I figured Tom would have been like, no. And we have Jacqueline Hill back in it, which I also enjoy as well. I like Meglos. That one would be hard to part with. But I have to keep State of Decay, because that's the highlight of the season for me. I love State of Decay. It's one of my favorite Tom Baker stories. I love Warrior's Gate. The story I enjoy, but I love the execution. I just love how this story is brought to life on screen and its use of special effects. It has a very unique look to it, which I really appreciate. I really like Keeper of Traken. And then Logopolis, while being a kind of middle-of-the-road story, honestly, it is Tom's final story, and it does have some nice moments. So you have to keep that for that. So sadly, Meglos, just by process of elimination, I had to sacrifice it. It was a hard choice for me, because I like that one. Season 19, the first one to go is Kenda. You guys know I don't like Kenda. I like Snake Dance. I don't really care for Kenda. To be fair to Kenda, the second half of it is okay. It's okay. It's not bad. It's not bad. Does some things I like even. Got some memorable lines in it. You can't mend people. I love that. The first half of Kenda, I don't care for. Also, the Doctor is an idiot in this story. When the woman's calling him idiot, I'm like... He does have some really dumb moments, like when he can't figure out the pick the hand thing and he's having trouble with it. I'm sitting here going, what? He makes some dumb decisions early in the story. Those first 2 episodes are really great on me, except for Tegan being possessed. That's pretty cool. I do wish we had more of Tegan being possessed in Kenda. I like the fact they rectify that in Snake Dance. But Kenda would definitely be the first one to go. Next on the list, as much as I find it underrated, is Time Flight. I actually enjoy Time Flight. It's not the best executed story in the world, but I do enjoy it, aside from the weird Master Disguise halfway through, which is only there so we can get a cliffhanger reveal of, it's actually me, Dr. Mwahaha. That's it. Let's be honest. That's the only reason it's there, because there's no reason for him to be disguised. And also, that's a terrible disguise. I feel like I'm supposed to be offended on behalf of someone. I'm not quite sure who, but someone. It feels like it's a bit Rossicist, but I can't exactly point who it's Rossicist to. But it feels like it kind of is. Not intentionally, but it just kind of feels like it is. But other than that, I actually do enjoy the story. But there's just so many other better stories this season that I would rather have, so it would have to go. And that's kind of the same for Black Orchid, which would be the third one for me. I like Black Orchid. I don't love Black Orchid. I'm not, actually, to be fair, I'm not a big fan of Black Orchid. It's okay. Black Orchid is okay. I like the fact that it's a 2-parter. That's all it needs to be. It's a 2-parter that knows it needs to be a 2-parter. Also, since the film elements survive for all the location work of season 19, the location work looks gorgeous in this story. Like with the Doctor playing cricket and everything. It looks, at least I'm assuming that's what he's playing. I don't know. I'm not British. It just looks like a really goofy, weird sport to me. I have no idea, by the way, how they're playing. I'm watching them play this game, which I'm assuming is cricket, and I'm going, I have no idea what's going on. This looks like a really goofy game. To be fair, I mean, British people probably look at us and go, aren't y'all the guys who play that sport where you pretty much use your hands the whole time and call it football? Yes. Yes, that's the Americans. We do that. We also have games like badminton, so I don't know. No game where you're holding a stick with a net at the end of it impresses me. Maybe tennis, but not like an actual net. Okay, I'm getting off topic. But Black Orchid, I do like the location work. And the story's okay. You know, when I'm in the mood for it, I guess. I'm not really a big fan of it. But the other stories this season I really like. I love Castrovalva. Again, it could be my favorite Davison story. I like Fort of Doomsday a lot. I find Fort of Doomsday is a bit underrated. It's such a good story. The musical numbers go on a bit long, but other than that, it's a really good story. Got some good cliffhangers. I like Earthshock, of course. And then I like The Visitation a lot. I think The Visitation is fantastic. Also with some great location work. Plus, I like the guy playing the bounty hunter. So the ones I sacrifice, again, some of them are just because process of elimination, I want to keep the others. So these just kind of have to go, unfortunately. Season 20 is hard for me. Season 20 is very difficult because I like all of Season 20. All 7 stories in Season 20. Of course, I do count 5 Doctors as part of Season 20. It's in the Season 20 box set. I count 5 Doctors as part of Season 20. And of course, I'm not going to get rid of it because I love the 5 Doctors. It's definitely one we're keeping. But I love all 7 stories to one degree or another. Or at least I should say I like all 7 stories to one degree or another. So it's really hard to sacrifice any of them. The first one probably to go would be Terminus, which is, again, a very kind of forgettable story. I think people forget about Terminus. It is a very forgettable story. Terminus is that story that for the longest time, it would be like, have you ever seen Terminus? Yeah, I've seen it. What's it about? Something to do with the Big Bang, and there's a giant dog in it. What else? You ask the hard questions, don't you? Because it's easy to forget about what happens in Terminus. The updated effects do help it a little bit from the DVD release. I do like those updated effects. And I've got to the point where I do enjoy Terminus now. I actually think there's a good story in there. It just, for some reason, it comes across as kind of boring. And forgettable. Next on the list would probably be Snake Dance, which is a shame because I like Snake Dance. I do enjoy Snake Dance. It's not like stellar Doctor Who or essential Doctor Who, but I find it enjoyable. I think Janet Fielding's putting in some good performances. I do enjoy it enough. I would hate to lose it, but other stories I like better this season. The last one was a really hard choice, because I know someone would probably be in the comments writing King's Demons right now, but I like King's Demons. I can't do it. It's my favorite Davison two-parter. So anyone who's in the middle of typing King's Demons, I'm going, no, sir! No! No! I can't do it. I like King's Demons. I would probably get rid of Maldron Undead, actually. Because I realize the only thing that's making me hesitate is that it has the Brigadier in it. And I do like having the Brigadier back. It's one of the reasons I like Maldron Undead. I mean, I do think the actual story itself, the written on paper story, is good. I actually find it really good. And I do love how it has the 2 Brigadiers running around. I like the Brigadier running around with Nyssa and Tegan, modern companions. That's pretty interesting to see. I don't really care for some of the character design, like Maldron and his people. I don't like the designs they chose for them, little stuff on that. That kind of puts me off, to be honest. Turlough is okay. I mean, Turlough doesn't really blow me away, but he's okay. And of course, I love having Valentine back as the Black Guardian. He's just so good in there. Well, his voice, he has the coolest voice. I'll bet he was like amazing on radio. And I love him in Slipback. I know he's in Slipback, and he's great in that. But yeah, I think I would let Maldron go. And it's, again, more down to me liking the other stories. I like Arc of Infinity a lot, especially with the updated effects. I really enjoy that story. I love the Amsterdam location work. Plus, this is one of the classic Who stories I saw as a child in the 80s. So I have that nostalgic attachment to it. I really love King's Demons. I do. King's Demons was, I think, the last Davison story I had to see. I think someone sent it to me, last year or this year? I think it was the last year. It had to be last year. I think that was the last Davison story I hadn't seen. And I liked it. I thought it was good. I really enjoy it. I think it's a very underrated story. I don't really like Chameleon, but he's not really Chameleon much. Most of the time he's disguised as the king, and I love the guy playing the king and the imposter king. Chameleon as the king. That guy's great. And then I enjoy the battle between the Doctor and the Master. I like the physical battle at the end of Part 1 and the mental battle at the end of Part 2. It's nice that you get to see a physical battle between them and a mental battle between them. I enjoy that. I feel like Ainley's Doctor and Davison click really well together, which I feel like Ainley clicks with all 3 of his Doctors really well, actually, come to think of it. Especially the serious way he's playing it in Survival goes well against McCoy's Doctor. I would have loved to have seen more of them together. And of course, 5 Doctors I have to keep because I love 5 Doctors. And then Enlightenment I have to keep. I love Enlightenment a lot. Enlightenment's arguably my favorite of the season besides the 5 Doctors. Like, for the season proper, Enlightenment might be my favorite. It's a really, really good, fun story. So, moving into Season 21. This one's really not that hard, is it? Immediately, Warriors of the Deep goes on the chopping block. I'll hand them that one on a platter. There you go. Take it. I live in a world where Warriors of the Deep is complete, but Power of the Daleks is completely missing. It's cruel. So, here you go, Warriors of the Deep. Next on the list, I would probably give them the Twin Dilemma, just because it's the Twin Dilemma. And I don't find the Twin Dilemma to be the just abysmal piece of junk some people do. I actually have some aspects of the Twin Dilemma I like. I actually think the broad strokes of the plot is pretty good. Some of the details don't work, but some of the broad strokes of the plot's good. And I like the design of the slug creature. I feel like the costume design's really good. And then the guy playing the other Time Lord, the Doctor's old mentor, the actor playing him, is doing a really good job as well. So it has a few good things going. There's a lot of bad going in it. The way the Sixth Doctor's written, the way the Sixth Doctor's performed in this episode, the ending of I am the Doctor, whether you like it or not, broadcasting this at the end of season 21 and making people stew on this episode for 9 months till we got Attack of the Cybermen. It does it no favors. The twins' acting is not good. There's a lot of bad, and it would definitely be one that I would be, all right, you can take this one. But I did want to acknowledge that I don't think it's the complete dumpster fire some people do. It's not the worst Classic Who story. It's miles better than Delta and the Bannerman and Warriors of the Deep. Maybe miles isn't the right word. It's feet better. Yards or feet better. And then the last one on the list, it took me a second with my handwriting, was The Awakening. I don't really care for The Awakening much. Part 1 was pretty good. I actually liked Part 1, but Part 2 was a huge letdown. I've only watched it the one time. It did not do much for me. Like I said, Part 1 was fine, but Part 2 didn't do much for me. It's my least favorite of the Davison two-parters. Yeah, that's one I could part with pretty easily. Because most of the rest of the season I enjoy. I like Frontios quite a bit. I love Caves of Androzani. I really enjoy Resurrection of the Daleks. Planet of Fire is okay. If I had to give up a fourth one, I would give up Planet of Fire. That would be easy for me to pick if I had to give up 4 this season. But I would keep Planet of Fire over the ones we talked about. Although it's kind of neck and neck with Twin Dilemma, I'd almost give up Planet of Fire for Twin Dilemma. Almost, not quite. Planet of Fire is fine. It's not blowing me away, but it's fine. Moving into, is there anything? Yes. Get a sip of something to drink here. All right, that's a little better. Moving into Colin's era. So, we have 6 stories this season. And this is another one that's kind of, like, it's not really hard. It's a little hard. It's just a little sad for me because I like all the stories in this season to one degree or another. I don't think season 22 has any bad stories. Yes, even that one I like because Paul Darrow's just amazing in it. I like them all. I find them all nice watching for different reasons. And I think season 22 is just massively underrated as a season, and Colin's underrated in it. Season 22 is a great season. But I will admit, if I had to sacrifice half of them, I know the first one would be Time Lash. And I like Time Lash. Especially with the updated effects on the box set, they really do help it. Plus, I just enjoy watching Paul Darrow on the screen. He just looks like he's having so much fun being there, and I love watching him chew the scenery. And then, for me, the story's not bad at all. I think the story's fine. I like Herbert, the character of Herbert, and the reveal with that is nice. And the Borad makeup is really good. Even if you don't like Time Lash, you got to give me that one. That Borad makeup, especially for classic Doctor Who, is pretty impressive. You got to at least give Time Lash that. Even if you're like, Time Lash is terrible, you have to be like, but I'll give Prowl that. The Borad makeup is pretty good. So you got to give it that. Next on the list is, oddly enough, this is going to be a controversial one, Vengeance on Varos. Because I like Vengeance on Varos, and I've cited it as my favorite Colin story at one point before I'd seen all of season 22. But just for some reason, my last rewatch of it didn't do as much for me as it normally does. And that's the one, of course, freshest on my mind. I just kind of felt myself drifting along with it as it went on. It was fine, but it didn't blow me away. There's definitely things I love about it, but for some reason I wasn't as enamored with it. And despite objectively, some people arguing that it's his best episode, and I can see that. I just feel like there's better stories I would rather have from this season. Personally, which I'll get to when I start talking about those. And the last one on here, which is also going to get me in trouble, but hear me out, would be Revelation of the Daleks. And I know, because that one almost wasn't on the list for me as well, because I was this was a situation where I was kind of thinking of the ones I needed to keep while thinking of the ones I needed to sacrifice or was willing to sacrifice. And this was originally one of the ones on the list that I had to keep because it's Revelation of the Daleks. But as I went down the list, I realized, wait, I had 4. I have to get rid of something. And as much as I like Revelations, and I do, it's a great story. It does have some fat that can be trimmed out, like Clive Swift's character and the nurse with him. That kind of just feels like it doesn't need to be there. And it's a good story with some other good guest characters, but I would have to keep Attack of the Cybermen, because I love Attack of the Cybermen. I even prefer it over Earthshock. I just think it's a great Cyberman story. I have nitpicks with it, but I do think it's a really good story, and I really like Colin in it. I would also want to keep Mark of the Ronnie, because that's my favorite Colin story. It's the only Colin historical. I like the fact that it has the Ronnie and the Master in it, and I think they bounce off each other well. And it does a good job of showing how the Ronnie and the Master are different characters. That the Ronnie's not just a female version of the Master. She's not like Proto-Missy. She is kind of her own Time Lord, and she operates differently, and I like that. Also, it's got really good incidental music. And then I think you have to keep the 2 Doctors just because I love Patrick Troughton in it. I love having Fraser Hines in it. It's not the best story in the world, and it does run a little bit at, you know, three parts at 3 45-minute parts. And it's certainly objectively probably not as good as Revelation of the Daleks, but I would keep the 2 Doctors over that just because it's Troughton. I love Troughton. And it's Fraser. And I do enjoy it. And it's nice seeing the Doctor out of his jacket and just kind of the suspenders and stuff. The 2 Doctors just narrowly beats out Revelation of the Daleks for me. It was a close one. Now, of course, for the remainder of the seasons, since they're all 4-story seasons, we're only going to have to give up 2 stories a season, which could still be tricky. For season 23, I would give up Mind Warp, as Mind Warp is arguably my least favorite classic story. Really, the only thing it has going for it is it has Brian Blessed in it, which I like. And it does have Syl back, and I like Syl a lot. I just don't care for the story. I don't care for the ending. I'm so glad they retconned that ending, because I hate that ending. Nicola's putting in a great performance, but I hate that ending. And then I would probably give up The Ultimate Foe, just because I prefer Mysterious Planet and Terror of the Vervoids. I think they're better stories. Ultimate Foe, I can understand people wanting to keep it because it is the finale of the season. You would want to keep that for prosperity. But again, it's only 2 parts. And for me, The Ultimate Foe is just kind of middle of the road. I think part 1 is really good, and part 2 is okay. But knowing the behind the scenes for that, I think it came out much better than it could have. I really like Mysterious Planet. It's my favorite of the season. And then I think Terror of the Vervoids is really good, especially the trial-less version of it on the box set. Season 24, you guys already know Delta and the Bannerman's going to be the first one to go. That's one I'll hand them with a smile. Delta and the Bannerman? They will probably be suspicious when I hand it to them, because I'll be like, here you go. And they'll be like, is this one any good? Yes. Yes, this one is very good. And they're going to be like, we are somewhat dubious. We're thinking about taking Paradise Towers instead. And I'm over there going, no, not Paradise Towers. That one is terrible. So I would definitely give them Delta and the Bannerman. Just not a big fan of Delta and the Bannerman. And then I would also give them Time and the Ronnie. I don't want to do that. But I like the other 3 stories. I don't like Delta, but I like the other 3 stories. I would be willing to give them Time and the Ronnie. As much as I enjoy it, I just feel the other 2 stories are better. I like Dragonfire a lot. I think it's really good. Great introduction for Ace. It's nice to see Ace and Mel kind of together a little. And then I really love Paradise Towers. That's my favorite story of the season. Easy. Paradise Towers is probably McCoy's most underrated story, simply because it's in season 24. If you took Paradise Towers and Happiness Patrol and flipped them in seasons, they'd slot right in. I feel like Paradise Towers slots into season 25 really well. Like, if I told somebody Paradise Towers was in season 25, unless they just knew I was wrong, they'd probably believe me, because it slots right in. I feel like Paradise Towers, if it was in season 25, would get more love. I think it would have a better reputation. I think it's simply the fact it's in season 24 is why it doesn't get the respect it deserves. It's because it's part of season 24, where it slots in perfectly in season 25. It feels like a season 25 story. McCoy's performance feels very season 25 to me. So I feel like it just gets not enough attention because it's part of season 24, but it's the best part of season 24. Season 25, again, a very good season. Right off the bat, I know I'd give up Silver Nemesis, and I like Silver Nemesis, but it is the weak story for me. And then the other one I would give up, and I think this one would be hard for a lot of people because I think most people would agree the other 3 stories are really good. I would give up Greatest Show in the Galaxy. You guys know I'm not the biggest fan of it. It's probably the most overrated story to me of McCoy's era. I think the first 2 episodes especially aren't very good. Episode 1 just enrages me, actually, sometimes. It makes me furious. But the story gets progressively better, and by episode 4, I'm having a good time. I think episode 4 is really, really good. And you guys know a big thing for me is an episode sticking the landing, or a story sticking the landing. And since Greatest Show in the Galaxy does stick the landing and have a really good last episode, it kind of redeems the story in my eyes. Whereas the first episode legit makes me angry watching it. It just gets progressively better as it goes on. But I would have to let it go because I do enjoy the other 2 stories. I don't think anyone would argue with me for keeping Remembrance, because Remembrance, I think everyone will acknowledge, is a fantastic story. It's a fantastic McCoy story, it's a fantastic Dalek story, and it's just a fantastic Doctor Who story. It's very good. And then I would want to keep the Happiness Patrol, because I find the Happiness Patrol is just a fantastic piece of television. I love the satire. I love the visual execution of it on screen. I love how well it's written. I love the dialogue. I love the performances. I think the Happiness Patrol, also, much like Paradise Towers, I feel like it's underrated. I feel like it doesn't get the attention it deserves. I did find it amusing when Britain just had their elections, a month or 2 back. And it's right when they were announcing, of course, you know, the season 25 box set. So when the whoever the opposites of the Tories are, I don't know, won and got into power, everybody was on like Twitter and everywhere putting up pictures and memes from the Happiness Patrol, which is awesome. I got a kick out of that, I will admit. And the fact the Happiness Patrol, I think, was the BFI showing they did. So the Happiness Patrol was kind of like trending for the day. I got a kick out of that, I will admit. It was nice to see the Happiness Patrol getting some attention and love. It's such a good story. It's definitely my favorite story of the season, and definitely one I got to keep. And then moving into the final season of Classic Doctor Who, off the bat, I know I would give up Survival. I feel like Survival is good. I like Survival. I feel like it gets more attention than it should for being the final story. Maybe more attention than it deserves because of that. It's still good. Anthony Ainley's best performance is the Master, and I love the brief time we get of him and McCoy together. But it also has stuff I don't like the cat outfits just looking very Puss in Boots looking, which I know the writer did not want or intend. Also, the one teenager that changes with the glasses, I don't know, he feels so tropey and stereotypical to me. And then the other one I would give up, as much as it would pain me to do so, would probably be Battlefield. Boy, the Brigadier is just not doing good on this list, is he? At least he still survives in the 5 Doctors. But I like Battlefield. It's just a matter of liking the other 2 stories. I'd have to keep more. It's great having the Brig back. I enjoy the story of Battlefield. I like McCoy and Ace's performances. Sophie's performance as well. I really like Jean Marsh in this as well. It's really, really good. I mean, my biggest complaint is just the incidental music. The incidental music for this one's kind of bad. That, and I wish some of the location work was shot on film. I really wish it was shot on film. But yeah, I just love the other 2 stories more. I love Ghostlight and Curse of Fenric. They're just quintessential McCoy stories for me, quintessential Doctor Who stories. I love Ghostlight. It's just executed so well. I love Ghostlight. And then Curse of Fenric to me is just the quintessential McCoy story. It's very, very much a battle between it and Remembrance, I think. I think those are arguably McCoy's objectively 2 best stories. depending on what you're going for in a McCoy story. I love Curse of Fenric. It's just so good, so I have to keep it. So those are the ones I would sacrifice, or be willing to sacrifice. I wouldn't be willy-nilly going, take them, aliens, with a few exceptions. Delta and the Bannermen, you say? Here you go. Warriors of the Deep, you say? But those are the ones I would be willing to give up, and the ones I would definitely have to keep. I want to know what you think of my choices and which ones you would choose. Comment down below. Let's talk about it. Don't forget to click the like button, the subscribe button as well. I also have a Patreon. If you would like to support me on that, there is a link to that down there in the description. I want to give a shout out to Sam Venning and Colin Coney, who are two of my top tier patrons. I appreciate their support, as I do the support of all of my patrons and my YouTube members. I also have a P.O. box. If there's anything you'd like to send me to look at and review, a link to my Amazon wish list is there. A link to my Amazon UK wish list is also there. Check those out. I update those regularly. Most importantly, thank you for watching.